Okay, so fasting for fat loss. It's everywhere you turn these days, right?
Yeah.
Like everyone's suddenly pushing back from the dinner table, swearing by these fasting plans.
Right.
And you're left wondering, is this like legit or just another wellness trend that's going to fade away?
Totally.
So we are diving deep today into the science of fasting. We're going to see if it lives up to all the hype, you know?
I think the important thing is people often misunderstand what fasting is, right?
Yeah.
It's not about starving yourself, which a lot of people think.
Right.
It's more like how can you strategically time your meals to give your body a break?
Okay.
It's about giving your metabolism a chance to kind of shift gears.
So less about deprivation, more about tricking your body into burning fat. Tell me more about this whole metabolic switcheroo.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See, when we're eating throughout the day, our insulin levels are pretty stable.
Oh,
And insulin's job is to help our cells use glucose, sugar, for energy.
right.
But when we fast, what happens is insulin levels drop, and that's when your body's like, okay, where else can I get energy from?
Got to tap into those reserves.
Exactly, those fat reserves that we've been carrying around.
Okay, so it's like flipping a switch. Instead of running on carbs, we're telling our bodies to start tapping into stored fat for energy. That makes sense, but I've always heard that skipping meals can actually slow down your metabolism,
Yeah.
which makes it harder to lose weight, right? So how do we square that circle?
Yeah, that's a common misconception.
Okay.
Because, yes, prolonged calorie restriction that can lower your metabolic rate.
Right.
But short-term fasting, like we're talking about,
Mm.
has actually been shown to increase your metabolism, give it a little boost.
Interesting. So how does that work? What's the science behind this magic trick?
Think of it this way. When you fast, your body releases this hormone called norepinephrine,
Okay.
and this is like your body's go-go juice.
Right.
It kicks that metabolism into high gear
Mm.
and helps you burn more calories,
Even when you're not doing anything.
even when you're at rest, yeah.
Oh.
And there are studies that show, actually, that short-term fasting can increase your metabolic rate by up to 14%.
14%. That's significant.
It is.
Okay. I'm starting to see why people are so into this whole fasting thing.
Right.
It's not just about, like, depriving yourself. It's more about optimizing how your body uses the energy that you are giving it, right?
Exactly. And it goes beyond just the metabolism boost.
Yeah, okay.
Fasting can really impact those hunger hormones, the ones that are always trying to sabotage us.
Oh, the ones that have me raiding the fridge at midnight. Tell me you have good news about those.
I do. Ghrelin, that's the hormone that tells you you're hungry.
Okay.
Fasting can actually reduce ghrelin levels.
No way.
Yeah, so you get fewer cravings, you're less hungry,
That's amazing.
and at the same time, it improves your body's sensitivity to leptin, which is the hormone that signals fullness.
Oh, interesting.
So yeah, fewer cravings, feeling fuller for longer.
It's like pressing mute on those hunger signals and then turning up the volume on those I'm full and satisfied messages. I like it.
And that's where the different approaches to fasting come in. You can fine-tune things based on your goals and what works for you.
Right, because we've heard about all these different types of fasting, right? It's not one size fits all.
Exactly, you're right.
So let's break it down. What are some of the most popular methods out there?
Okay, so let's start with intermittent fasting.
Okay.
IF. IF.
Yeah. And everyone's talking about that.
For good reason. I mean,
Yeah.
it can be super effective and it's so flexible.
Okay.
Basically, you're cycling between eating and fasting, but there are so many ways to do it,
Yeah, like what about that 168 method? That's the one I hear about constantly.
Yeah, the ones
What's 16 hours of fasting, 8-hour eating window?
Exactly.
Does that one actually work?
It really can for a lot of people.
Okay.
Let's say you finish dinner, 8 p.m. You don't eat again until noon the next day, skipping breakfast.
Okay.
That's 16 hours right there.
See, that doesn't sound so bad when you put it that way.
Right. And you can tweak it. Some people are like, 14:10 is more my speed, or they do like a 2:04.
Oh, wow.
So it's really about what works for you with intermittent fasting.
So IF, lots of options, find what works.
Yeah.
But then there's like these longer, more intense fasts.
Right.
What are those all about?
So that'd be what we call extended fasting.
Okay.
And now you're talking going beyond 24 hours without food.
Okay.
So 36 hours, 48 hours, some people even do 72.
That's a long time.
It is.
Is that even safe, like for the average person to just decide to do that?
I'd say approach those with caution.
Yeah.
Definitely talk to a doctor, especially if you're going to do like a really extended fast.
Right.
It's not something to jump into lightly.
Okay, good to know.
But there's a lot of research coming out about how potentially beneficial those extended fasts could be.
Really? Like beyond just losing weight, we talked about fat loss.
Yeah.
What else we talked there?
This is where it gets super interesting, right? Because remember autophagy, we talked about that?
Yeah, that like cell cleanup process.
Yes. Extended fasting seems to be like the key to unlocking autophagy on a deeper level.
Wow.
Giving your body a chance to like really clear out those damaged cells, regenerate new ones.
So it's like hitting the reset button.
Yeah, a cellular reset.
That's pretty wild.
It is.
Yeah.
And that's not all. We're even seeing connections between extended fasting and reduced inflammation.
Wait, like the inflammation that's tied to heart disease and all those chronic conditions?
That's the one.
Wow.
Now, more research is definitely needed,
Of course.
but
Yeah.
the early findings are like really promising.
Okay.
Fasting could be a key player in actually reducing the risk of those inflammatory diseases.
So we've gone from like boosting your metabolism and, like handling those hunger hormones to now maybe slowing down aging and like preventing some serious diseases.
I know. It's a lot.
It's a lot to take in. So big question now is, how do I know if fasting is right for me? And then how do I do it safely?
Right. That's the million-dollar question.
Exactly.
And that's what we're here to break down.
Okay, so let's get practical. What are your top tips for someone who's like, okay, I'm intrigued, but wants to make sure they're doing it the right way?
Yeah. So first and foremost, listen to your body.
That's like the golden rule of like everything wellness.
It really is. And with fasting, especially, if you're feeling super off, dizzy, anything like that, don't push it,
Yeah.
Break the fast, eat something, maybe next time, try a shorter window.
Totally. So start slow, pay attention to those cues your body's giving you. What else? What other advice for someone who's like just starting out with this whole fasting thing?
Hydration, hydration, hydration.
Oh, well, right, because you're not just cutting out food.
Exactly.
You're cutting out all the liquids you'd usually get from those meals and snacks.
Exactly. So water is your best friend.
Okay, stay hydrated. And it's not just plain water, right? We can have like...
Oh, yeah. Unsweetened tea, black coffee.
Okay.
Those are all fair game.
Perfect.
Won't break your fast. Helps if you need that caffeine boost.
Okay, so we're hydrating, starting slow, listening to our body. What about like when you do get to eat? Any tips for those eating windows?
Big one. Focus on nutrient-dense foods.
Okay.
So we're talking lean protein, healthy fats, lots of fruits and veggies.
Got it.
It'll help you feel fuller for longer, keep your energy up, and you avoid those blood sugar spikes and crashes.
So you're not craving more sugar later.
Exactly.
Now, exercise. Big question I get from our listeners. Can you work out while fasting?
It's a great question. And honestly, it depends.
Okay.
Like lighter stuff, you're usually good to go walking, yoga,
Yeah.
even some strength training. Some people actually, they feel better working out towards the end of their eating window when they've got some fuel in the tank.
Interesting. So again, listen to your body, see what works for you.
Exactly.
Now, what about those downsides we talked about? Muscle loss, the social aspect. Any advice on navigating those tricky parts?
For muscle loss, protein is key, right? Make sure you're getting enough in your eating window. That'll help preserve that muscle mass.
Okay, good to know.
And socially, it's all about communication.
Yeah, it's a world built around food, right?
Totally. So let your people know what you're doing, why you're doing it. Suggest some activities that don't involve a buffet table.
Right.
And if you got to eat, you got to eat.
Yeah.
Don't beat yourself up about it. Just adjust your fasting schedule.
It's about progress, not perfection.
Exactly.
So as we're wrapping up here, what's like the big takeaway you want our listeners to remember about fasting for fat loss?
I'd say fasting can be really powerful,
Yeah.
but it's not a magic bullet. And it's not one size fits all. You got to figure out what works for your body, your lifestyle.
Yeah.
Experiment a little. It's about taking control of your metabolic health, feeling your best.
I love that. And it's so interesting to me. It's like our ancestors, right, they didn't have grocery stores. They
Yeah.
evolved to thrive even when food was scarce.
It's true.
So this whole fasting thing, giving our bodies a break, it's not some new fad. It's
Right.
literally in our DNA.
Totally.
Yeah,
It makes you think about food in a different way.
for sure.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder if, like, maybe those ancient rhythms, they hold some answers for us today.
Absolutely.
Wow, what a thought. As always, we hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge you need.
Yeah.
And hopefully inspired you to explore the world of health and wellness a little more deeply.
Absolutely.
Keep those minds curious, those bodies nourished,
Yeah.
and we'll catch you next time.